the critical roadblocks that could get in the way of your financial confidence into and throughout retirement. We'll talk about them today on Financial Focus with John Kuykendall, founder and CEO of GulfCoast Financial Services, 10 years straight and running, named the perennial best of the best in financial services by the readers of the Lake City Reporter. And John, it's information like this that leads to that recognition, helping people understand the challenges that we will face in our financial future and then planning to avoid them.
Well, I hope so, Peter. There are a lot of challenges and roadblocks out there. And as we've talked many times, we really encourage everyone to get one of those financially focused income plans that is the roadmap that takes us through these roadblocks that we're going to talk about. And without a map, we don't know where we're going, Peter. And today, that road is longer and longer. And so we really need to be ready for it.
And windy and plenty of obstacles in the way that we will talk about, your occasional detour and traffic jam. We don't want to encounter those, if possible, on the road. We certainly don't want to encounter those in retirement. And for a preview in retirement, some of the big ones: taxation, healthcare, Social Security, withdrawal rate, sequence of returns, inflation, longevity. We'll talk about all of them here briefly on today's program. But again, the true value of the program, ladies and gentlemen, the information that is discussed, you can apply to your situation by calling and requesting the opportunity to put together that financially focused written retirement income plan with John and the team from GulfCoast Financial Services. If you'd like to see why they have been perennially named best of the best in financial services by those Lake City Reporter readers, serving proactive planners around North Central Florida and beyond, pick up the phone, give them a call, 386-755-9018. 386-755-9018. And I guess the first things last on the list here, John, but something that we've all encountered along the way and will continue to encounter in a big way in retirement: taxation. It's a pay now or pay later arrangement.
Yeah, Peter, it is. And there are some things that we can do now to be proactive that will make the taxes less in the future. We know that taxes are going to go up. Taxes have to go up in order to pay for the debt service on our nation's debt, which now is over $500,000 per individual in the United States. And, the thing of it is that we're getting new taxes in January of 26. And so we only have a short period of time where we can do some things that are going to help us in taxes. But taxes are one of the major problems, not so much the tax rate itself, but because if we do certain things, it will increase our taxes or increase the penalties that we will incur from Medicare, Social Security, other things that we really don't think about.
Yeah, it's like one thing builds on the next,
Yeah.
right? And we have this progressive tax system where the more income you have, the higher the tax rate you pay on those next block of dollars. But then they trigger other things throughout retirement, especially, John, that sometimes catch us by surprise. Certainly something we want to be aware of, address ahead of time. And if we can avoid that roadblock or minimize the obstruction, we want to do that.
Well, that's what we try to do here, Peter. And we have software that helps us. People don't realize that up to 85% of your Social Security is subject to taxes based on your income. So while Social Security, it comes to us, and under certain circumstances, we don't pay taxes on it. The majority of us do pay taxes on our Social Security. Also, the penalties for Medicare and Part B and Medicare Part D, those can go up based upon how much income. But the big thing is, Peter, as you said, every dollar can cost us more. And I go back and remember the lady that wanted to do some shrubbery, and she came to us in November and needed 10 grand. And when we put it through our tax calculator, it was going to cost her 40% in taxes to take that 10,000 out. So she was going to spend 4,000 of that 10,000 on taxes.
So some solutions there, John. You helped her out proactively, not only identifying that was an issue, but some potential solutions so she could still get her shrubs.
Well, sure, we do part of it this year and part of it next year. I mean, there are ways that we can get around that. We just need to be aware of it, and maybe we cut back this year and do more next year. So those are the kind of things that we like to think about. You know, the charitable giving that we can do if we're over 70. Those are some of the things that we look at when we do taxes.
Absolutely. All right. Well, just one of these 7 retirement roadblocks. Next on the list, John, healthcare expenses, healthcare risk. Expect the unexpected.
Well, healthcare is going to be one of the major costs. And as I've said, I believe it's going to be a more of a cost in the future because I really believe that in order for Medicare to survive, we are going to be indexed for income. So the more you make, the less you're going to get. And so while right now we may have only the premiums to pay and the small deductibles and everything else is covered, in the future that may not be so. Also, don't forget that the cost of your Medicare is really not going to be much cheaper than the insurance you're paying today if you're working. There's no free lunch. And so, you know, as you get older, the more you pay for your Medicare supplements. And so Medicare and healthcare costs are going to be a major cost in retirement. We have to be ready for it.
Genworth has a cost of care calculator available online. And basically for Lake City, Gainesville area, the current cost of care in a range of different levels of care necessity, from in-home care all the way to skilled care, nursing care facility, anything from about $6,000 to $11,000 a month. And they give you a future forecast of what the cost would be into the future. Over the course of the next 15 to 20 years, they imagine that rate will be anything from about $11,000 to $18,000 a month just for the care facility or care quality cost, John.
Yeah, you know, and Peter, long-term care is not covered by Medicare. And there's no way. And while Medicaid will cover if we don't have assets, you cannot pick the facility you want to go. You have to go to a Medicaid eligible facility. And in some cases, that's as much as 40, 50 miles away from where you live. Kind of hard to visit your loved ones if you have to go that far.
Yeah.
We have alternatives, Peter. We have some things that we can do, the hybrid type long-term care insurance that will help us. There is no long-term care insurance.
I have also heard, John, of people who are taking steps to try to protect or shelter assets in the event that they need that kind of care. Essentially, John, it's kind of a choice of protecting the assets or allowing the government to set our standard of care. Right? It's like we can pay privately and set our own standard of care, but if we take steps to protect or shelter certain assets, I know that there are limits and limitations, generally very low. You can maybe ink out just a little bit more protection. But if we take those steps, those assets are isolated outside of our access, and therefore we are basically designating that we are planning to apply for government aid and subsidies and Medicaid, in which the government gets to then set that standard and quality of care and location. So it seems to me like pros and cons on either side, but no perfect solution there.
There is no perfect solution. You know, it's going to cost money to be in a care facility. It's going to cost money as we get older. And, you know, you don't want to go into an overcrowded facility because that's what the government gives you, where you can't get the care you need. You can't get the support. You have to be ready to, you know, I want to be ready to fund it myself so I can go where I want to, where my loved ones can come see me, but also so that I know I'm getting the care and treatment that I should be getting while, you know, and it's close to home. My loved ones don't have to drive 40, 50, 60 miles. And you can say what you want to, Peter, that's not going to happen to me. But there is a case, I know it's a good friend of ours, got dementia at an early age. He became violent. And so it was a situation where there was no facility that would take him. And so he had to pay for his facility out of his pocket, which he had the money for. So we want to make sure that we have that flexibility, Peter, because it's like saying that, you know, my retirement is going to be based on me working in retirement. Well, based on health, as I get older, I can't do quite as much as I used to. I don't know that I'm going to be able to work every day. And so we have to plan and plan it right, Peter.
What was the movie Princess Bride? I'm not sure that word means what you think it means. That's not my definition of retirement there, John. Speaking firsthand experience, though, also consider the ratio of care providers to
Yeah.
residents in any kind of consideration of care facility. I know that is a big one, as well as the quality of care and how you feel, but that ratio is also important. Next on the list, John, is Social Security. There's a risk there if you don't choose wisely.
I read something this week, Peter. I didn't realize it, but you can get a lump sum Social Security. They will pay you right now and take you off of Social Security. And basically, it's about $17,000 that they will give you
Yeah.
up front. And it's 6 months of benefits, and you're free. They don't owe you anymore, and you don't owe them anything. But who would do that?
At first, John, I was maybe starting to raise my hand that I'm here for this, but that doesn't sound like the best deal when otherwise we're entitled to a lifetime of at least foundational income security.
Peter, in this day and time when we have no defined benefit plans, we have no pensions, the Social Security is really important to us. And making that decision as to how long I'm going to get my money and how much I'm going to get and how much I'm going to leave to my spouse is really important, something we should plan out so that we don't leave a lot of money on the table. I can't imagine me running that through my Social Security calculator and finding how much money I'm leaving on the table by taking the 17, 18 grand now versus taking that lifetime pension and having it, with a cost of living raise if it's available. But certainly I would want to do, but Social Security is offering that. And so certainly it's good for them. But just remember, you need to have the right decision, and you need to understand before before you make that suggestion and sign up. Let's go through the calculator. They aren't paid to give us advice. They're paid to take your order.
Yeah, and potentially the difference in several hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of retirement, especially for married couples. It can be a significant amount. And John, that's money that either comes to us in the form of Social Security or that we are withdrawing from our personal assets or just isn't there at all. And of the three, I'm certain I know which one I would prefer. But that's why it makes sense to get that proactive advice. Don't just give an order without understanding what all is behind it, without running the numbers. And that is part of the financially focused written retirement income plan, ladies and gentlemen, helping you to optimize the decision about your Social Security claiming timing and strategy. So if you would like to get that put together, or even just look at the optimization of the Social Security decision, pick up the phone, give GulfCoast Financial Services a call, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018. John, the quintessential concern for today's retirement is, do I have enough? Will I run out of money? How can I make sure my money is going to last? This is our next retirement roadblock. It is withdrawal rate risk, making money last. We've got to really dive into these numbers, crunch them, rearrange them, and give ourselves some guidelines, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, we have to come up with a budget, Peter, and we have to find out, what are our needs and what are our wants, and then we come up with a cost of how much we're going to need from our portfolio, and then we see if it's reasonable, and then we tweak it and fine tune it. I mean, we can't just go into retirement without understanding how much I'm going to need my retirement funds to give me, and they will crash if we don't have a reasonable number. There for a while, when interest rates were real low, the 4% rule was in question, because can I take 4% out every year of my balance and still keep my portfolio going? And so that was a problem. But right now it's not a problem. We've kind of forgot about it, but it's going to come back into play. And so I really need to have a budget. I don't want to die and leave a bunch of money to my kids when I could have used it for myself. Trust me.
Hey, that's not a selfish notion at
No,
all in my mind either. However, I had the conversation with my dad decades ago that he was planning on bouncing his last check. My response was just make sure it's the last check you need to write, so that goes both ways. You don't want to leave a whole bunch behind. Fair enough. Just don't run out before the time that you need to, right?
well, make sure you love your life and you live the kind of retirement you want.
Yeah, and you got to plan for that. That's the
Right.
guidelines, right? Is that we could
Got a
easily
plan.
enjoy life to the fullest for the first 5 years of retirement,
Oh,
but
shit.
might face 20 years of a less fulfilling retirement if we enjoy too much. Vice versa, we might be so conservative that we don't do the things that we otherwise could. And that's why that financially focused written retirement income plan, John, so important. It helps us set those guidelines for the withdrawal rate risk, heading for the right target for the lifestyle that we envision.
That's right, Peter. It's so important. It's like the Halloween candy. I can't give it out to the first 10 people. I have to make sure I have enough through the night. But I don't want to have a bunch of candy left over for the next week.
Yeah. John, same money, less power. I'm sick of hearing about it at this point in time, but even sicker about living through it. However, in retirement, this is particularly insidious. Inflation risk. We've got to address it in planning.
Well, we have to plan for inflation, Peter. It's here, it's happening, whether whether it's 3% or 5%, inflation's here. I just read this weekend that from 2020 to 2024, food prices have gone up 56.1%.
Mm.
Now, I mean, all it takes is for a 99 cent of can of soup to go to $1.50, and I've gotten a significant increase.
Yeah.
But we don't really see it like that. But things are everything's costing more. Everything, whether you go to breakfast in the morning or whatever you're doing, everything is costing you more. It's going to cost you more in retirement.
And John, when they say it's slowing down or coming down, it's not that prices are coming down. It is the rate that they are going up
Yeah.
is not as much as it was compared to a year ago, but prices are still going up. And I feel like they're going to continue to go up. We were in a very uh, attractive interest rate, a very low inflation rate environment for a
Right.
good period of the early 2000s and 20 teens. But I think we've sort of entered a threshold when you look at just the economic environment, the fiscal and monetary policy, the debt that we have, the printing of money. It just seems to me to be leading us to a conclusion that inflation is probably stickier and around and here to stay at higher rates than it has been historically.
I think historically we are going to be faced with the 2020 shutdown. I think that has caused a lot of companies to have to charge more. They had to retool, start up, rehire, retrain. The cost of wages, wages have gone up. The cost of finding somebody to work is almost impossible. And so all of that has added to our inflation at a record rate. Even if it's 3 or 4%, we've seen more than that. And we're going to continue to see that, I think, in the foreseeable future. So we just have to learn to live with it, Peter, and make sure we got that growth bucket working for us.
And finally, John, the risk multiplier, longer life, bigger risk. Tom Hegna says that this is the one that multiplies all of the other longevity risk.
Well, that's right, Peter. And in retirement, you can live 30, 40 years. And so you need to be ready for a long retirement. You need to be ready for the fact that you're going to live longer. There are going to be a lot of roadblocks on that road to retirement, and we have to be able to steer our way through them the best we can. But I can tell you this, that we are spending more money. Seniors are doing more things. We're more active than we've ever been. And so it's one of those things where we need money to be able to do the things we want to do. I mean, I wouldn't think that this age, my dad was doing as much as I'm doing. And so, we're going camping, we're doing things, and, it's a different lifestyle. future generations are going to be in a different lifestyle than I'm in. And so we need to be able to plan for that and plan for a better retirement.
Well, you want to plan for these roadblocks into and throughout retirement. We probably cannot eliminate them completely. You just have to plan and prepare ahead of time for them, chart your course around them to minimize their impact. And that's what the financially focused written retirement income plan is all about, ladies and gentlemen. If you would like to get that plan put together, or even if in your current financial conversations, these 7 essential roadblocks have not been explicitly discussed and addressed, it's time for a review. That could be just the tip of the iceberg. These are major factors that you must plan for into and throughout retirement. Give John Kuykendall and the team from GulfCoast Financial Services a call, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018, because John, after all, quitting is for winners, but retirement is not for wimps.
That's true, Peter. That new book, we'd love to give anybody a copy that wants one. Hopefully we put some things in there that will help them in their retirement. Some of the things that I've seen, some of the mistakes I've made, maybe they can learn from them.
Well, again, if you would like a copy of that book, give a call, stop by the office of Gulf Coast Financial Services, or right now, again, the true value of the program, set up a time for a complimentary financial and retirement planning review and strategy session to get your financially focused written retirement income plan. 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018, or visit online, gulfcoastfinancial.net, gulfcoastfinancial.net. John, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Peter. It's great to be here. See you next week. Hey, if you'd like a copy of our new book, Quitting is for Winners, but Retirement's Not for Wimps, I encourage you to click the link below and get your copy today. Hey, we like it when you listen to the show, but we like it better when you like, share, subscribe, or feel free to leave a comment.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more financial focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only, without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for a particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature and not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes. John Kuykendall is registered with and securities are offered through Kovac Securities Inc., member FINRA SIPC, found online at www.kovacsecurities.com. Advisory services are offered through Gulf Coast Financial Services Inc., a registered investment advisor in Florida. Gulf Coast Financial Services Inc. is not affiliated with Kovac Securities Inc. or Kovac Advisors Inc. Past performance is not indicative of future results. All investing involves risk. Investment decisions should be based on your own goals, time horizon, and tolerance for risk. Due to various factors including changing market conditions and/or applicable laws, the content may no longer be reflective of current opinions or positions.